Welcome to today's Explainer. We are diving right into some seriously fascinating source material today. We're going to unpack the 2008 teachings of Zhu Feng, specifically zeroing in on this incredibly deep, intrinsic connection between our internal consciousness and the physical universe around us. If you've ever wondered how your mindset might actually be shaping the physical world you experience every single day, well, this Explainer is going to give you a highly structured breakdown of exactly how that mechanism is said to work.
So let's start with a feeling I think pretty much all of us can relate to. You know those days, or honestly, maybe even those years, where absolutely nothing seems to go right. We hit setbacks, we run into troubles, and sometimes we face deep suffering. And what's our immediate gut reaction as humans? We look up, throw our hands in the air, and ask, why is the universe so unfair? We tend to blame the heavens, feeling like we're just victims of a totally chaotic, indifferent world. Hold on to that feeling for a second, because the source text we're analyzing today fundamentally flips that exact assumption on its head.
To understand why the text argues the universe isn't actually out to get us, we turn to Section 1, the nature of Tao and how it acts as the driving force.
According to Xu Feng's teachings, the universe isn't just some random chaotic void. Instead, it's governed by a system called Tao. The text defines Tao as the driving force behind the movement and transformation of literally everything. It's described as the lifeblood of the universe, the synthesis of all laws. Now, the source outlines that Tao has 8 very specific characteristics, things like holographic order and instantaneous sensitivity. But for our purposes today, we're focusing our attention entirely on its 5th characteristic, spirituality.
So how does this spirituality actually function in practice? Let's move right into Section 2, the cosmic mirror, where input strictly equals output.
The text presents a pretty brilliant concept here to illustrate the core mechanic of Tao's spirituality. It argues that Tao operates with this meticulous, eternal reliability. It's an impartial, incredibly strict procedure. You just cannot deceive it. Think of it like the ultimate flawless computer program. You literally get out exactly what you put in. If you input an apple seed, there's no way you're getting oranges in return. If you input peace into your life, you aren't going to get turmoil back. You simply cannot trick the system into giving you a joyful output if your input is toxic.
And here's the central metaphor the source uses, which hits the nail right on the head. The text compares Tao to a mirror. Just imagine standing in front of your bathroom mirror, sobbing, completely resentful and angry that your reflection isn't smiling back at you. That sounds totally absurd, right? But the text asserts that this is exactly what we're doing when we blame Tao for our troubles. The mirror is just accurately reflecting whatever is right in front of it. If you want the person in the mirror to smile, well, you have to smile first.
This requires a pretty profound shift in perspective, bringing us to Section 3, projecting your reality, based on your internal state.
The text actually references Western spiritual masters here to anchor this idea, dropping this massive quote, "Reality is the projection of our own consciousness." Meaning, the physical world you're navigating right now is quite literally a reflection of what's going on inside your head. If your internal state is just filled with chaos, disorder, jealousy, or hatred, well, that is exactly what the universe is going to project right back at you. In fact, if you're constantly angry and blaming others, the text says Tao will actually arrange circumstances that provoke you into becoming even more angry and resentful.
So the takeaway here is absolutely crucial. Your outward experience is totally dependent on your inward vision. You want outer peace? You've got to cultivate peace inside first. The text goes incredibly deep here, asserting that if our consciousness doesn't even contain the concept of heaven, there will literally be no heaven in the universe for us to find. To ever reach highly elevated spiritual states, what the text calls the 1,000-year world, the 10,000-year world, or the celestial islands continent of the Elysium world, we have to first deeply envision and passionately yearn for them internally. You can't travel to a place that doesn't first exist within your own mind.
But, okay, this logically leads us to a massive question. If we have the power to just input peace and get peace back, why on earth is humanity engaged in this seemingly endless struggle with suffering? Why wouldn't we just choose happiness?
The source text offers a really fascinating answer to this in Section 4, A Sentient Universe. It suggests that humanity actually chooses not to break free from suffering, even though the universe is actively trying to help us out.
To explain this, the text lays out a very specific historical worldview. It argues that Tao routinely sends guides every few hundred years to try and educate and elevate humanity. According to this timeline, heaven sent Laozi, then centuries later Buddha,
then Jesus, and in the modern era, Shufeng. The text then poses a very pointed, rhetorical question. Did we actually ever listen to their guidance? The implication being that our continued suffering isn't because the cosmos abandoned us, it's because we refuse to follow the guides we've been given.
Now, earlier we established that Tao is this strict, impartial mirror, right? Well, the text also reveals that it's incredibly sentient, trustworthy, and deeply empathetic. The text literally states, when we rejoice, Tao rejoices. When we suffer, Tao suffers. When we are angry, Tao is angry. It is definitely not a cold, unfeeling machine. It resonates perfectly with our human experiences.
And because of that deep spiritual resonance, the text explains we're never actually alone or helpless. Referencing the teachings of Jesus, it notes that as long as you keep knocking, the door of the kingdom will open for you. The text claims that in moments of extreme danger, if a person is conscious and earnestly asks for aid, that spiritual resonance can instantly shift a situation to safety or at least minimize the harm. The universe is listening, just waiting to respond to a genuine knock.
So, how exactly are we supposed to interact with this sentient universe day to day? Let's check out our final part, Section 5, Finding Divine Revelations Through the Wordless Books.
The text breaks down the Lifechanyuan approach to finding what Shufeng calls revelations into 3 steps. Step 1 is awakening your spiritual perception. The text beautifully compares this to a blind person miraculously regaining their sight. Once that perception is open, step 2 is to read the wordless books of nature, which just means finding divine inspirations from the everyday phenomena happening all around you. And finally, step 3 is attaining Tao, which grants you the ultimate freedom to, as the text poetically puts it, fly freely in the vast sky.
Now, I know that sounds super lofty and philosophical, right? But the text grounds this immediately with a surprisingly relatable micro-anecdote. Have you ever gotten a stomachache after eating some bad food? Normally, we just play in the sketchy takeout place and move on. But the text argues that this, too, is a wordless book. It's actually Tao spiritually warning you, actively caring for you, and letting you know you consume something harmful. So yeah, even a stomachache is framed as a manifestation of a deeply sentient protective universe communicating directly with you.
Which brings us to the end of today's explainer. We've seen how the source material frames the universe not as some random void, but as this deeply spiritual, meticulously ordered mirror that reflects our exact internal state right back out into our physical reality. It's a system you can't deceive, but it's also one that actively provides guides and everyday revelations to help us find peace. So I want to leave you with this final provocative thought. If your reality is simply the projection of your own consciousness, what information are you inputting into the mirror of the universe today? Thanks so much for joining me, and I hope this structured look at these concepts helps you view your world just a little bit differently.